What's going on, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we'll be continuing from where we left off with downloading Unsplash images, and we'll actually be jumping into creating our actual Twitter bot and making use of the Twitter API. So the first thing you need you obviously need a Twitter account for your bot. I've gone ahead and created one called Words in the Past, the coolest sounding name I could think of at the time. And once you have this account, or once you have your bot account, go ahead to the developer.twitter.com website, and you'll see a page that looks like this. Obviously, depending on when you're watching it, it may look different in the future. But I've already gone ahead and created or applied for an application. And if you haven't, there is this apply button that you might see in this area in the top right of the navigation bar. So if you don't have a developer account on Twitter, then go ahead and apply for that. I don't want to walk through the whole process. It's pretty simple. It just asks a bunch of questions as to why you're using it. It'll send like a verification email to you. And once that's verified, you should have the developer portal open to you. So on this page, you'll then see something like developer portal. And if I click on that, this is where you'll just see the dashboard. As of right now, I have no apps or anything like that. Go ahead and create or apply for developer, the Twitter developer account. It shouldn't take too long. And once everything's been done, and once you click that verification link, you should have this dashboard available to you. So the first thing, once you have this, is you want to go over here into overview. So click on that. And we'll only be making use of the two versions. The latest version of the Twitter API is version 2. We won't need version 2. We only need version 1 for what we're doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and create app. So just here on overview, click on create app. They'll ask for a name. So I'm just going to go with the name of the account, Words in the Past. And then you'll get these keys here. So you'll get the API key, the API secret key, and the bearer token. So, and of course, I will be removing these once this video is up. So just in case anyone is wondering. So we need, first of all, the API key. So let's copy this. Just you can click this plus icon here, and it will copy, and you'll see these kind of cards flick up in the top right corner. And then head back over into the source code, and in the environment, we'll call this the Twitter, what's it called? API key. Like so, and set that to the value. And the next one is the API secret key. So just take that and call this Twitter API secret key, and just save it like that. And we need two more. We need the access token and the access token secret, and that isn't here. We don't want the bearer token, so do not include this. And yeah, once you've copied over the API key and the API secret key, you can go back to dashboard. If you click here in standalone apps, you'll see your app. Just click on that. And then you can see here in this kind of like subnav, keys and tokens. So just click on that. And down below at the bottom, you'll see access token and secret. You just want to click generate for that. And here you'll see the access token and the access token secret. So for the access token, I'm just going to copy that and call this the Twitter access token. Set that equal to this value, the access token, and then the access token secret. So just copy over this and call this the Twitter access token secret, like so. So yeah, these are the 4 kind of keys that we need and tokens that we need in order to access the Twitter API. And yeah, so that's, yeah, just click save on that. And we'll just ignore this whole thing for now. The first thing I want to do is create some services for our API, such as like getting a random tweet or a random quote, generating it, checking to make sure that it's less than 280 characters. And yeah, then just generating that tweet so then we can later on use it in our actual Twitter bot. So to get started with creating our service, the first thing we need to do is create within our source folder services.py. And this is where we'll interact with this is kind of like our middleman for getting quotes from our JSON like database, creating tweets, etc. So when we create our Twitter Python file or the actual bot file, it doesn't have to deal with all that, and we just keep that separate away from the bot. So the first thing is within services, we want to create a method that gets our quotes. So we will need the import, we will need to import JSON. So we can do import JSON as underscore JSON. And then we can say, we can create a function called get quotes. So this will return all our quotes. And it's only about, I think, 500 lines within our JSON file. So it's not a lot. And this is it being formatted, so probably a lot less. So yeah, like it's load time wise, it's very fast. So we get quotes and we can say with open and then the name of our file, which is quotes.json, like so. And we can just call this as quotes file. Then we can say the quotes equals underscore JSON.load and then quotes file. So we'll just load all that in and we'll store it in quotes, which will be a dictionary or a list of dictionaries. And then we can just return quotes like so. So that will just get all our quotes. We can go ahead, maybe test it out, but I guess it's pretty straightforward. And then we'll create a method that returns a random quote. So from this list, it will just create, it will just return to us one random item. So we can do we can call this get random quote. And we'll say quotes equals get quotes. And then quote equals random. So we need the random file. So import random as underscore random and do random dot choice from quotes like so. So that will give us a random quote from our list of quotes, and then we can just return that quote. So like that, return quote. And then next what we want to do is we can go ahead and create a method that forms a tweet itself. So it'll create the structure in which it'll look. And I kind of want it to look like, so if I were to tweet something, like we would have, this is a nice quote. And then by the author, say, I don't know, me, like that. That's what we want. That's the kind of style we want. Or however style you want it, that's just the preferred way for myself, and discard that. So we can go ahead and create a method that says form tweet, and this will take in a quote. I mean, we could get it from here, it doesn't really matter. I just want to kind of make this as what's the word? Forget about it. I've forgotten the word. But this will just take in a quote, and we can call it. This will be a dictionary. So I'm just going to do a bit of typing here. From typing, import dict, like so, and we can say This is basically a dictionary with the keys as strings and the values as strings, and this will just return a string. Maybe we could probably put some extra ones here, so list and yeah, just list, I guess. This one will be a list, just to be as consistent as possible, and dictionary, like so. And we can go ahead now, and in our form tweet method, we can say the author equals the quote, because remember each quote has a author, and we want to access that. So we can say quote author. And if we go back to our quotes.json, you'll notice how, like, take this one here by Nietzsche, we'll have some of them have this comma, this kind of trailing comma at the end. I think there are a few, maybe, yeah, like here, this Terry Johnson one, we see one there as well. I don't know why that's there, but we don't want to show that in our tweet. So we can just do strip the end comma, like so. And that will just remove any comma at the end of the author's name. And then we can create our tweet, which will be, we can create this as like a string and format it. So this will be the quote, and then the quote itself, sorry, not double quotes, singular quote, and then with that dash, and then throw in the author, like so. And then finally just return that tweet. So yeah, once we've created the form tweet, now we can go ahead and create a tweet that we'll use in our Twitter bot, and this will be get tweet. And this will be a loop, because we want to check, first of all, like, we don't know 100% if all of these tweets are 280 characters. I mean, it'd be a very long thing to check. We could have added it into our scraper to ensure that each of these quotes were less than or equal to 280 quotes, 280 characters, but we could probably just write this check in here anyway. So yeah, what we could do is just write a loop. So while true, or kind of like, I guess this is Python's way of writing a do while loop. So we can do quote equals get random quote. Then the tweet will be the form tweet, and we'll throw in the quote. So we can just create a very simple method that validates the number of characters in our tweet. So we can do valid, or we can say is valid, as it will be a Boolean, characters. And this will take in the tweet, which is a string, and just return a Boolean value. And then we can say return length of tweet less than or equal to, I think it's up to 280 characters. If not, then you can just put less than or equal to 279 or less than 280. And then finally, we can write an if statement that says, if the tweet that we've formed is true, so the tweet, pass in the tweet, then we can return the tweet. If it's not, then we'll just keep creating tweets until we get a match. But by looking at it, I think the majority of them are less than, or maybe not this one, that's a pretty big one, but I think a lot of them are less than 280 characters. So yeah, the reason why I've written this while loop, or reason why we're doing this, is let's say we have our Twitter bot running and let it tweets every every hour, or every hour. And on one occasion, let's say at 12 p.m., it finds a tweet. However, it doesn't have 280 characters. If we didn't have this kind of while loop, then it would just break and we'd have to wait another hour. It just completely miss an hour. So to be consistent, we have something like this. And of course, I mean, it's randomly selecting a quote. So it could be that it might tweet the same tweet again, but there is we have quite a lot. So the likelihood of that happening is slim, and the more quotes you have, of course, the less likely that would happen. But yeah, I don't want to go too much into like designing and really tailoring our, making our Twitter bot as kind of realistic as possible. So yeah, there's some corners that I have cut, but we can go ahead and just test this print get tweet out. And we can do Python services. And then we get a tweet. Try again, try again, try again, try again, try again. Yeah, so it's quite a few, well, obviously quite a few, but it's working. We are getting random tweets that are less than or equal to 280 characters, which is fine. So now that we have this, actually one thing to mention is that we haven't written something for to get the image. We have, this is a service as well, so we will be making use of this method, download image, that we created in the last video inside unsplash.py. This will just download the image, but we don't have a service to actually get that image, and that's because we'll be making use of a library called tweepy, and that will kind of just, it makes it very simple. It's so simple, in fact, to actually get the image that we don't need to write a service for it. But that's the services, and now we can go ahead and move on to creating the bot itself. So one thing I forgot to mention is that our Twitter bot will only be writing to Twitter. We won't really do anything with reading from Twitter. You might if you decide to expand on this Twitter bot, but we only care about writing to Twitter. So what you need to do is, if you don't have that writing permission already, then go to your standalone apps and to the app that you created, and you may see something different. Mine's read and write, as I've set that to read and write, but instead you might have read tweets and profile information. You might have this radio button selected. If that's the case, then just select read and write and then click save. And when you do that, the last thing you need to do is go back to your keys and tokens, and you'll need to regenerate your access token and secret, as if you by default already had the read permission, then those tokens are only valid for reading. You need to reset it, so it's you need to get the new access tokens and access token secret for writing to your API. So then just copy that over like we did earlier, back into your .env file, and just replace the old tokens with the new ones. So yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention. But now we can really get started with creating our Twitter bot, and the real fun of this project comes to light. So the first thing that we need to do is, in our source folder, create a file called twitter_bot, and this is where our bot will reside. So the first thing is we need to make all the relevant imports. So let's import the operating system, or OS library, not the operating system, but the OS module, the .env module, and the, what else? The time module, and I'll show you as to why we're using this later on. But there's also one last module that we're forgetting. I'm just going to clear this, and that is, I'm not sure if this is zoomed in enough, but hopefully that should be readable to you. But we need this module, or this library in Python called tweepy. So if I do Python tweepy, if I Google it, tweepy is basically, yeah, an easy to use Python library for accessing the Twitter API. I mean, we could make use of the request module, but tweepy just makes everything a lot more easier. And yeah, it's a great library. So to install it, you just need to go to this installation page. So I just click this one here on the tweepy documentation, and just copy this, pip install tweepy. And then back in the source code, just make sure you're back in the parent module or the parent directory, and just paste in pip install tweepy. And I'll just install it, and you're good to go. So now we also need to import that into our file. So we can just do import tweepy as _tweepy. So let's go ahead and load in our .env. So load.env, and then let's create the name. So I'll do API key for like all our keys that we've got from the Twitter portal, and this will be the Twitter API key. Oops. Then we want the secret key. Hopefully, like there's no typos here, but if there are, we'll see the errors. And this will be Twitter. Oops. API secret key. And then the next one is the access token, and that'll be _OS, and then environ, and Twitter access token, and then finally just the access token secret, and that will be _OS.environ, and then Twitter access token secret. So yeah, that just loads our environment variables. We can now go ahead and start creating the methods we need for our bot. So the first method that we'll create, I'm just going to close the Explorer, but the first method we need is one that will get the API itself. So it will create our client basically to kind of like have an interface with the Twitter API. So we'll say get Twitter _API, and this will then we'll do auth equals _tweepy dot auth handler, and then we'll pass in the API key and the secret key, like so. And then we can set the access token, so auth.set access token, and then just pass in the access token and the access token secret. And then for the Twitter API, we can say Twitter _API equals tweepy.api, and then we pass in the auth, so our auth handler, and we can just pass in some extra parameters like wait on rate limit, set that to true, and wait on rate limit notify. So these will kind of just notify us if we've kind of maxed out on the kind of requests we've made on Twitter to the Twitter API. It's just nice to have. And we just return Twitter _API like so. So that just basically creates our API and returns it to us. So you don't have to keep on entering this. And then we can create a function that writes a tweet to the to our Twitter bot, or allows our Twitter bot to write a tweet. So first of all, let's just make some extra imports, the ones that we created earlier. So we can import our services. Services as _services. And we also need to import unsplash, our unsplash file that we created as _unsplash, like so. Now we can go ahead and create a function that writes a tweet. So we can do _write tweet. And this will first make a call to our service, which basically, if I remember correctly, gets a tweet. So we'll call this function. And like there's a reason why I copied it. It's because for some reason VS Code is not helping with auto-completion in some ways. I would use services.getTweet, like so. And then we can do Twitter _API equals get Twitter API. And then within Twitter API, there's a method called update status, like so, and that will basically just create a new tweet and post it. And all we need to do is just pass in the tweet itself. And that's all it takes. Like, that's how simple the TweetPy module is, and how easy it is to make use of the Twitter API with this module. So we just create our API, and then we just update our status or post a new status. And we can try it out. Let's do write tweet. And before I run this, I just want to go back to my Twitter bot, so we can see like how it'll update. So right now, no tweets. If I now go into the source folder and do Python and Twitter bot, and now it's run that, we can go back. If I refresh, we see a tweet. So there's a tweet by William Faulkner, a rather big tweet. I don't want to read it out, but yeah, it works. We could do another one. Let's run this again. Go back. Now we have another one by Martin Luther King Jr. So yeah, like and you can see that was pretty fast. Like I hit enter and within like less than a second, it was done. So tweeting a text is very easy. And yeah, like this pretty impressive. I'm always quite impressed of how simple it is with the TweetPy module. Now let's create a method that allows us to post a image. So we can do post image, and this will make use of our unsplash unsplash image. So we can do our not unsplash image, the unsplash download function that we created. So back in unsplash, we had this download image. So take that, and then this will download an image into our file system, which will be named picture.jpg. And then finally, what we can do is, again, just call the Twitter API. So set this to Twitter API equals get Twitter API. And then finally, we just need to do Twitter_API dot update with media. So not update status, but update with media. And we just need to give it the name of the file. So picture.jpg, like so. And that's it. That's all it takes. And we can go ahead and test this out. So post image, see if this runs. So let's give it a go. If I reload, anything happen? Yes. We have a picture of an owl. So that's, yeah, pretty simple. Like there's not much to it really. Like it was very quick to write the bot itself. Of course, sometimes like if you run it and it might take a bit longer, like I think this image isn't so heavy in terms of file size, as the majority of it is in black, and there's only part of it which is in color. So it might take a second to kind of download the image, and then also a second or so to upload that image as well. So yeah, like this way, if it didn't take like as fast as mine did, then you might just have to wait a second. But that's really, I think, depends on the type of image you're downloading and posting. But yeah, that basically allows us to write a tweet and post an image. So again, very simple. But we can now go ahead and create a function which, as we will be deploying this, we want this to keep running and running. We can create a function called run. And actually, it might be better to just, actually, let's leave the underscore here. This is kind of like our main function. And then with inside run, we can say while true. So this will be just a continuous loop. We don't want it to stop. And then we can call the write tweet function. And then as Twitter has limits, so we can't post like all the time. It will just use up all the limits or the credits that we have on the API, on the Twitter API. The thing that you want to do is create a function, not a function, is to make use of this time.sleep function. that will, like, we'll basically say, yeah, post a tweet, and then in half an hour, post the image. So I'll say 1,800, as that I think is 30 minutes and seconds. And yeah, I Googled this beforehand. So yeah, I didn't just suddenly work it out. But that will wait half an hour. And then we can call the post image. And then we can just wait another half hour for time.sleep. And that being 1,800 seconds again. And yes, sleep takes in a number, and that number represents a second. So, or the number represents seconds. That's why I'm passing in 1,800. But yeah, that will run. So it will write a tweet, sleep, and then post image. We can create our main kind of section here. So if name equals __ main, then just call this run function, like so. So every time we run the Twitter bot file, it will just call this. So we can test it out. I don't want to, like, for test sake or for demonstrating, I don't want to wait half an hour in this video to see if an image shows up. So I'm just going to replace this with 10 seconds, and we can go ahead and run it now. So we go back, hit refresh. We get our tweet 4 seconds ago. I'll just keep refreshing. So 8 seconds, we should expect something soon. So 11 seconds. And then we get our image. So a picture of, I guess this is related to art. But there's a reason why you saw 11 seconds and then this image, because it does also sometimes take time to post an image. But yeah, that's really it. We've gone ahead and created a bot. You can run this locally and keep it running all day, and everything will be fine. Hopefully should be fine. But the next video will focus on how we can deploy this onto Heroku. There are other options. I mean, you could write this onto something like Replit. So this website here, which is great. Like it's definitely growing in terms of popularity. You can write your code and deploy it in the same place. But we'll use Heroku, and yeah, like that will be also pretty simple. And yeah, that way, if you are wanting to build a bot and then just have it running on a server, remote server, then this tutorial will hopefully show you how to do that. But other than that, I hope to see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video and like this video gave you some value, then please leave a like and also subscribe for future content. And I have a Discord server in a link to my Discord server in the bio, in the description. So yeah, feel free to pop by and say hello. But yeah, I wish you good health and stay safe, and I hope to see you in the next video.